Hello everyone, Will Hassel here once again to go and give you your weekend review and week look ahead video. Starting off as usual with our charts of the Dow Jones, QQQ, and SPY ETF charts. We had a big week in the markets. It was Fed decision day on Wednesday, and we actually got what some economists thought and people like me didn't, which was a taper on Wednesday. They actually tapered $10 billion off of mortgage-backed securities. And Bernanke also said that he will keep interest rates low for the near future. When we look at this, as we saw start off the day on Wednesday pretty high, it was a pretty muddled week. We had very thin trading. It's the Dow. Very kind of thin, range-bound little trades, not too big of moves, because everyone was waiting for Wednesday for the taper decision to see if we were going to taper or not. A lot of people were coming in with the fact that we weren't going to taper, but we did end up taper, and the markets obviously liked it, because on Wednesday we had this kind of drop, then a massive pop. When you go into a little bit more detailed, like the 1 minutes and stuff like that. Not going to go to the 1 minute, it seems. When you start getting into more detail, you saw it was a huge, like you can see right here, huge whiplashing going on because people weren't so sure what was really going on. And then we had that initial upside, and we had very good days. All the indices made record highs that day. Then on Thursday, we had a little bit of a consolidation period. Well, not really a consolidation period, just kind of muddled trading because it was kind of like the big move was already gone. And then on Friday, we got boosted there by GDP numbers, but on Thursday we did have slightly lower numbers on, I believe it was home starts and I think employment numbers, but generally people thought it was good. Gold got absolutely slaughtered, went down to $1,200 an ounce, but generally people thought it was a very, very good move. People like the idea of a taper, so the only question is, will we see another $10 billion in March? So for your week ahead, it is a holiday week, and on the 24th, we do close early for Christmas Eve. This is typically one of the lighter weeks, as we see, like for Thanksgiving and other weeks like that. It's very thin because we have a holiday in the middle of the week. People are going to take the entire day off because Tuesdays, an early close, and then Monday people are going to be already gone. But we do have some stuff coming out, mainly Monday and Tuesday. On Monday we had the November personal income numbers. The consensus estimate is 0.5%. The last period was negative 0.1%. And then also the November consumption numbers. Consensus is 0.5% increase versus last period versus a 0.3% increase. And then we have the December Michigan sentiment numbers, and we are estimating that a 8.3 number will come out as opposed to an 83 number as opposed to an 82.5 number. Then on Tuesday, on that early trading close, because that's December 14th, we have durable goods numbers coming out, and we expect a rise in 1.7% versus a decline of negative 1.6% last time. And then finally we have November new home sales, and the consensus estimate on that is 450,000 versus a 444,000 for the last move. And also on Thursday, a couple things that I highlighted is we have weekly jobless claims, and a lot of economists are saying that we are going to see some volatility. Because it's the holiday season, up and downs. Most likely it's going to be stronger, as it typically is. And also on that Thursday, the Bank of Japan releases the minutes on the November monetary policy, which may or may not affect our markets, depending on what they do. I think it's going to be interesting to see what Abe and his guys over at the Fed there are going to be doing, since they saw Bernanke taper this week. So just kind of keep an eye out for that. And then because it's going to be a very thin trading week, I'm not going to dive too much into the markets. Kind of start going into what I had for the week in terms of my portfolio. All my positions are currently in profit, so that's nice. We talked about AIG last week of being one of my downers. Visa continues to rocket higher. So yeah, as we were talking about AIG, been fighting that 50 line for a little bit, stayed above it for the last couple of days. We're coming into close above that with all that air. Their deal with the with selling the airline leasing business to the China company that they sold to, I believe it's Air Corp. So we got a little bit of follow through of that on Monday, then it faded. Then we just saw it decline off of people selling that news. And then we had the big pop on Wednesday, continuing into Thursday, and then into Friday, where it closed above 51, which is going to be our new level of support. Is going to be 51 if we look at the past chart. 51 has been resistance before, and now it's going to be support. So there's AIG. The CEO was on talking about the deal a couple of days ago on Squawk Box, and he says he continues to see growth expanding. JP Morgan, not a whole big, it had a pretty good move on Wednesday. Pretty good. I believe it was up around 2.5% or something like that. The banks overall did really well on Wednesday when the taper decision came out. I then continued to follow through over onto Thursday and Friday in that kind of dull-ish tape. Moving on to Visa, which had a very good week even without Wednesday. The Wednesday did help it go higher. Got some new 52-week highs all throughout here. Closed way above its 200 moving day, although slightly below the 50 and 21 days. I'm going to go back to AIG and JP Morgan just to go and tell you those stats. AIG closed above all of its simple moving averages, and then JP Morgan went and closed above its 200 day and closed below its 50 and 21 day. Going into Michael Kors, which also made new 52-week highs, I believe this week. Yes, it made them this week, and it made them on a Friday of last week as well. We had some very good follow-through, broke above 84, new 52-week high of 84.59, and 84 now is our resistance, as we see. Really started choppy trading over there after the boost by the Fed. It did close below all of its major simple moving averages, but as we can see here, it's that huge kind of playing right there. We got up to 84 just a little bit, didn't really break out of it though. But it continued to really, especially Thursday, really traced its 200 moving day average like a champ. I think it's going to go higher as we come into the retail season. And also with Visa, it's going to be very good numbers. Starbucks. The Fed helped Starbucks out very well on a technical level. When we look at the chart, it was really, really brought down in this kind of weird range-ish area where we couldn't break above $77, and 76 was about our support level. So we just kind of kept bouncing up and around that range, but the Fed did go in. If I go out to a 10-day chart, the Fed did help us go and get a kind of a boost going on there. Broke above 78, which it hadn't done since the 11th. So as we see, 78 is kind of a major resistance level, as we see kind of topped out there as well. And then it broke above that on Thursday when it opened from getting some follow through from the Fed the next day. Although it sunk below 78, you can see as soon as it broke it slid down. But then regained some of its action on Friday, still below that $78 range. Hopefully, if we can see that break above it next week, then we can go and see it move higher towards 80. But I do think that they will do very well on earnings this quarter. Moving into some other stocks that we watched going into Goldman. As we see here, once again, a huge big boost on the Fed day. All the banks really did, so I'll go through Goldman, I'll go through Citi, which is way above its 200-day moving average and just close above its 50. Other stocks that I'm looking at is Apple, which kind of didn't really react too much to the taper. Look at it on a 10-day chart. It's been losing some steam here, crossed below that 550 level, which is a little bit of a psychological level just because it's a round number. Here we have the $560 level. Seems to be a now a resistance level as we look into it. Some battleground going on over there. Closed above its 200-day, I believe. Yeah, just slightly above its 200-day. Going to Nordstrom, JWN. Had a very good day Friday. Didn't have that much huge big pop on the Fed decision, but did over here on Friday. And then this is another stock I think will do well because of the sector thing. Another stock to go and look at is BBRY, BlackBerry. Had a huge 15% pop on Friday after it released terrible earnings. As we can see here, the initial drop, and then Foxconn announced that it will be producing its phones on there, and then possibly going and buying them out. So huge volume on that, and I honestly don't know where it goes from there. Probably back down. I think we're going to see a lot of selling on Monday, a lot of short selling going on, but some shorts definitely got really squeezed, as we see here. Hasn't been doing a whole lot as of lately. Back down to a 60-minute, 8-week, so a 2-month chart. Yeah, really nothing. Except 710 may be a level to look at just because of that little spike that we saw over here. Other than that, I don't see a huge number of support resistance levels. Yeah, actually, I'd say 709 would be just going looking on where that is compared to 709. Yeah, just almost right below that candlestick. So 709 is going to be your look. I'd probably get short 709. Just looking at it based off of the weakness. Yeah. I feel like that would be a good trade. Yeah. So there's 709 just below that candlestick. So, that's this week's video. Made it very short this week because trading week this week is going to be very small, as I said, because of the holidays. So, I'd like to thank you all for watching this. I really do appreciate everyone watching my videos. Please follow me on Twitter at WillHasselWS, and please, I love taking questions and comments, so any of those, please send them to me on my email or comment on this video below, and make sure to watch all of my fellow Leaders members on the Leaders Investment Club site. A lot of great videos on there. Benzie Banks did a huge video on all different types of he did on stocks, bonds, and different commodities, just based on how their technicals and charts changed, just based on the Fed and what it means for further on. So with that, I think I'm going to end it. See you guys next week.